War and Peace, a complete summary of Tolstoy's epic masterpiece. Hook and intro. Welcome, fellow seekers of knowledge and stories. Have you ever stood before a mountain of literature, perhaps Leo Tolstoy's monumental War and Peace, and felt both awe and apprehension? It is a book synonymous with grand scale, profound insight, and let's be honest, an intimidating length. It is a novel that many aspire to read, but few manage to complete. Its vastness often overshadowing its incredible human drama and timeless wisdom. Yet within its pages lies not just a story, but an entire universe. A universe where personal fates intertwine with the destiny of nations, where love and loss play out against the backdrop of world-altering conflict, and where the very essence of human existence is questioned and explored. Today, we embark on a journey not just to summarize this epic, but to truly understand its beating heart. We will unravel the intricate tapestry that Tolstoy wove, taking you through the lives of unforgettable characters, the rigid halls of Russian aristocratic society, and the brutal, chaotic battlefields of the Napoleonic Wars. Our core purpose is to provide you with a complete and comprehensive summary of War and Peace, meticulously detailing its plot, introducing its unforgettable characters, and illuminating the profound historical and philosophical insights that make it one of the greatest novels ever written. Why is this journey important today, more than a century and a half after its publication? Because War and Peace is not merely a historical novel. It is a mirror reflecting the eternal human condition. It asks us fundamental questions about free will versus destiny, about the nature of heroism, and about where true meaning and happiness can be found amidst life's chaos and suffering. In an age filled with rapid change, global conflicts, and a constant search for identity, Tolstoy's exploration of human resilience, the impact of war, and the quest for spiritual truth remains profoundly relevant. The novel's characters grapple with ambition, love, disillusionment, and spiritual awakening in ways that echo our own struggles. It challenges us to look beyond superficial narratives of power and glory, and to recognize the quiet dignity and immense collective force of ordinary lives. By the end of this video, you will not only have a clear understanding of the entire plot of War and Peace, but you will also grasp the intricate philosophical arguments that underpin it. You will meet Pierre Bezukhov, the searching intellectual, Prince Andrei Bolkonskys, the disillusioned idealist, and Natasha Rostova, the vibrant embodiment of life itself. You will witness the grandeur of Russian society, the terror of battle, and the burning of Moscow, all through Tolstoy's masterful storytelling. This deep dive will save you hundreds of hours, providing you with the essence of this literary giant, equipping you to engage in conversations about it, and perhaps even inspiring you to pick up the full novel yourself. Join us as we unlock the secrets of War and Peace, a story that remains as vital and compelling today as it was in Tolstoy's time, offering timeless wisdom on how to live, love, and find meaning in an ever-changing world. This is not just a summary, it's an invitation to a profound intellectual and emotional experience. Context and background. Leo Tolstoy, born in 1828 into an old Russian aristocratic family, was uniquely positioned to write an epic like War and Peace. His own life experiences, including his service as an artillery officer during the Crimean War, provided him with a visceral understanding of battle and its psychological toll. This personal insight, combined with extensive historical research he poured over historical archives, military records, and personal memoirs, allowed him to craft a narrative that felt both deeply personal and historically monumental. Tolstoy wrote War and Peace between 1865 and 1869, a period when Russia was undergoing significant social and political reforms, including the emancipation of the serfs. His evolving philosophical and religious views, which often critiqued societal conventions and emphasized spiritual truth, were deeply embedded in the novel. The novel is set against the tumultuous backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars, specifically focusing on the campaigns from 1805 to 1812, culminating in Napoleon Bonaparte's catastrophic invasion of Russia. This era was a crucible for European identity and Russian national consciousness. Napoleon's ambition had reshaped the continent, and Russia, a vast empire grappling with its own internal challenges, found itself at the heart of this global conflict. The Patriotic War of 1812 against Napoleon became a defining moment in Russian history, solidifying a sense of national unity and resilience. War and Peace primarily follows the fates of three aristocratic families, the Bezukhovs, the Bolkonskys, and the Rostovs. These families, though fictional, represent different facets of Russian aristocratic society in the early 19th century, with their wealth, social obligations, and distinct moral compasses. The story begins in 1805, during a high society soiree in St. Petersburg. Here, we are introduced to Pierre Bezukhov, an illegitimate son of a wealthy count, an awkward, intellectual, and initially aimless young man. He is kind-hearted but naive, often bewildered by social conventions. Upon his father's death, Pierre unexpectedly inherits an immense fortune, instantly becoming one of Russia's richest men. This sudden wealth thrusts him into the center of aristocratic intrigue. He is manipulated into marrying the beautiful but shallow Helene Kuragina, a woman known for her cold ambition and promiscuity. Their marriage is a disaster, symbolizing the superficiality and moral compromises prevalent in high society. We also meet Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, a brilliant and ambitious young aristocrat married to the charming but delicate Liz. Andrei is deeply dissatisfied with the empty rituals of St. Petersburg society and yearns for glory and purpose. He decides to join the Russian army as an aide-de-camp to General Kutuzov, hoping to find meaning in military heroism. He leaves his pregnant wife behind at his father's austere estate, Bald Hills, which is managed by his rigid, philosophical father, Prince Nikolai Bolkonsky, and his deeply religious, gentle sister, Princess Maria Bolkonskaya. The Rostov family residing in Moscow offers a contrasting image. They are warm, spontaneous, and less concerned with social decorum than the Bolkonskys. The family includes the elderly Count Ilyar Rostov and Countess Natalia Rostova, who preside over a lively, loving household. Their children are Nikolai, Petya, Vera, and Natasha. Natasha Rostova is a vibrant, impulsive, and captivating young girl full of life and passion. Nikolai Rostov is a dashing young officer, eager for military experience and deeply devoted to his family. The narrative quickly shifts to the war front in 1805. Prince Andrei participates in the Battle of Austerlitz, a major defeat for the Russian and Austrian armies against Napoleon. On the battlefield, Andrei, seeking personal glory, leads a charge with a standard in hand but is severely wounded. As he lies bleeding, he gazes up at the vast, indifferent sky, a profound moment that shatters his illusions of heroic grandeur. He realizes the pettiness of human ambition against the backdrop of eternal nature. He is captured by the French but later released, presumed dead. He eventually returns home to find his wife, Liz, dying in childbirth. Her death, coupled with his battlefield experience, leaves him deeply disillusioned and cynical. He retreats to his estate, dedicating himself to his son and estate management, avoiding public life. Pierre, meanwhile, continues his search for meaning after his disastrous marriage. He becomes interested in Freemasonry, believing it offers a path to moral improvement and societal reform. However, he soon finds the Masonic order to be plagued by hypocrisy and superficiality, mirroring the society he had hoped to escape. Despite his efforts to implement reforms on his estates, he achieves little success, further deepening his sense of existential confusion. The Rostovs also experience the strains of war. Nikolai Rostov participates in battles, experiencing both the thrill and the terror of combat. He is wounded and eventually returns home on leave, where he continues his flirtation with his cousin Sonia, a gentle and devoted orphan raised by the Rostovs, and develops a deeper relationship with her. However, his family's financial difficulties, exacerbated by his father's poor management, cast a shadow over their joyous home. Young Natasha experiences her first serious romance with Prince Andrei, who, after years of seclusion, is drawn back into society by her vibrant spirit. Their engagement is agreed upon, but Andrei's father demands a year's delay for the engagement period. This separation proves challenging for Natasha. During Andrei's absence, Natasha, still young and impulsive, is infatuated by the manipulative Anatole Kuregin, Helene's brother. She almost elopes with him, a scandal that deeply shames her and devastates Andrei when he returns. Andrei, heartbroken and furious, breaks off their engagement. This period marks a profound turning point for Natasha as she experiences deep shame and suffering, leading her to a period of spiritual reflection and growth, aided by the pious Princess Maria. This complex interplay of personal lives, societal expectations, and the looming shadow of war forms the detailed backdrop for the novel's philosophical inquiries and its epic sweep into the events of 1812. Core narrative and analysis. The narrative reaches its climax with Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812, a colossal undertaking involving the largest army Europe had ever seen. Tolstoy meticulously depicts this historical event, not as a glorious campaign, but as a chaotic, brutal, and ultimately futile endeavor. Napoleon, whom Tolstoy consistently portrays as a self-absorbed figure driven by vanity and an illusion of control, believes he can dictate history. Yet Tolstoy fundamentally challenges this great man theory. He argues that history is not made by singular, powerful leaders whose actions are the sole architects of events. Instead, history is an organic process, an emergent property of the collective will and seemingly insignificant actions of countless individuals. Napoleon, in Tolstoy's view, is merely a product and symbol of larger forces, a straw man swept along by the current of events rather than its master. The climax of the 1812 campaign is the Battle of Borodino, one of the bloodiest single-day battles in history. Tolstoy's depiction is not a strategic overview from the general's tent, but a visceral, ground-level experience. We witness the confusion, terror, and sheer scale of human suffering from the perspective of characters like Pierre and Nikolai. Pierre, driven by a desire to understand the war, visits the battlefield and observes the chaos firsthand, witnessing the raw courage and stoicism of the common Russian soldiers. He is profoundly affected by their simple patriotism and resilience. Prince Andrei, having rejoined the army despite his disillusionment, commands a regiment at Borodino. He understands that the outcome will be decided not by brilliant tactics, but by the spirit of the army, the collective will to fight and endure. He is again gravely wounded during the battle, experiencing another profound existential moment. Lying in a field hospital, he encounters Anatole Kuregin, his rival, also mortally wounded. In a moment of transcendent compassion, Andrei forgives Anatole, realizing that love and mercy are far more powerful than hatred and resentment. This near-death experience deepens his spiritual understanding and leads him towards a peaceful acceptance of death. Following Borodino, the French advance on Moscow. Instead of defending the ancient capital, the Russian army, under the command of the enigmatic General Kutuzov, retreats. Tolstoy portrays Kutuzov not as a brilliant strategist, but as a leader who understands the collective will of his people and the inexorable forces of history. He intuitively grasps that the French invasion is doomed, not by a single decisive battle, but by the slow, collective resistance of the Russian people and the vastness of the land. Moscow is abandoned, and soon after, it burns. Tolstoy depicts the burning of Moscow not as a strategic act planned by either side, but as an almost inevitable consequence of historical forces and the spirit of the nation refusing to yield. The fire, whether accidental or deliberately set by patriotic Russians, devastates the city. Pierre, driven by a confused impulse to assassinate Napoleon, remains in Moscow during the French occupation. He witnesses the looting, the suffering, and the collapse of social order. He is eventually captured by the French and experiences the harsh realities of a prisoner of war. During his captivity, Pierre undergoes a profound spiritual awakening. He meets Platon Karateev, a simple, uneducated peasant soldier. Karateev embodies a practical, intuitive wisdom, a deep connection to life, nature, and God, and an unwavering acceptance of suffering. Karateev's gentle fatalism and his ability to find joy in simple things deeply impact Pierre. teaching him the value of humility, love, and living in harmony with the natural flow of life. Pierre realizes that true happiness lies not in grand intellectual schemes or societal approval, but in simple human connection, compassion, and the acceptance of life's inherent truths. This experience strips away Pierre's intellectual arrogance and societal pretenses, leaving him with a genuine, heartfelt understanding of existence. Meanwhile, the Rostovs, like many other aristocratic families, flee Moscow, taking wounded soldiers with them. Natasha, still recovering from her scandal with Anatole, dedicates herself to nursing the wounded. In a poignant moment, she recognizes the gravely wounded Prince Andrei among them. Their reunion is filled with unspoken understanding and forgiveness. She nurses him with tender care, staying with him until his peaceful death. His death, portrayed as a spiritual liberation, is not a tragedy but a transition to a higher state of understanding, a testament to the novel's exploration of life and death as interconnected parts of a greater spiritual journey. The French army, decimated by the Russian winter, partisan attacks, and a scorched earth policy, begins its disastrous retreat from Moscow. Tolstoy emphasizes the sheer misery and disintegration of the French forces, portraying them as a struggling, starved mass rather than a disciplined army. Nikolai Rostov distinguishes himself in the pursuit of the retreating French, further solidifying his military reputation. After the war, the characters begin to rebuild their lives. Pierre, profoundly changed by his experiences, returns to society with a newfound sense of purpose and inner peace. He finds a kindred spirit in Natasha, who has matured greatly through her suffering and experience of love and loss. They fall in love and marry, forming a union based on mutual understanding, deep affection, and a shared spiritual journey. Natasha, once the vivacious girl, settles into the role of devoted wife and mother, embodying the force of life that transcends historical turmoil. Princess Maria Bolkonskaya, after the death of her father and brother, finds solace and love with Nikolai Rostov. Their marriage unites the Bolkonskys' intellectual depth and spiritual piety with the Rostovs' warmth and emotional honesty, symbolizing a hopeful future for Russia, one rooted in genuine human connection and family values rather than superficial status. The novel concludes with an epilogue, further detailing the characters' family lives and Tolstoy's final philosophical reflections on history, reinforcing his arguments about determinism, free will, and the collective nature of historical events. Tolstoy's philosophy of history, woven throughout the narrative and explicitly articulated in his lengthy philosophical digressions, remains a cornerstone of the novel. He challenges the notion that history is made by great men like Napoleon or abstract ideas. Instead, he posits that history is the result of the innumerable, often imperceptible, forces at play, the sum total of countless individual lives and actions, like a continuous flow of a river. Individual leaders, no matter how powerful, are merely instruments or symbols of these larger, often unconscious historical movements. True understanding, Tolstoy suggests, comes from recognizing the interconnectedness of events and the underlying forces that shape them, rather than attributing everything to the genius of a few. This sweeping narrative of personal transformation and grand historical forces makes War and Peace a truly unparalleled work of literature. Deep insight and reflection, War and Peace transcends its historical setting, offering profound insights that resonate deeply with our contemporary world. Its exploration of history, personal growth, and societal critique remains remarkably relevant to individuals and societies today. Firstly, the novel offers a powerful model for understanding historical narratives. In an era dominated by soundbites and simplified explanations, Tolstoy's critique of the great man theory challenges us to look beyond charismatic leaders and recognize the complex interplay of collective actions, social forces, and chance occurrences that truly shape history. This perspective encourages critical thinking about how history is written, who tells the stories, and whose voices are often left out. For instance, consider how major political events today are often attributed solely to a single president or prime minister. Tolstoy would argue that these leaders are themselves products of larger social, economic, and cultural currents, and that the collective actions and opinions of millions ultimately determine the course of events. Secondly, the character's struggles with personal growth and the search for meaning provide enduring lessons. Pierre's journey from intellectual confusion to spiritual clarity and Andrei's evolution from cynical ambition to compassionate acceptance mirror our own quest for purpose in a complex world. They remind us that meaning is often found not in external achievements or societal status, but in authentic human connections, love, humility, and the acceptance of life's inherent flow. Think of the modern emphasis on self-care or mindfulness. These practices often seek a similar inner peace that Pierre discovers through Karativ's simple wisdom. In a world obsessed with success metrics and external validation, Tolstoy's characters remind us to prioritize inner contentment and genuine relationships. For example, many people today might pursue high-paying careers or fleeting celebrity, only to find themselves unfulfilled, much like Pierre's early disillusionment with Freemasonry and his marriage to Helene. Their eventual paths to happiness lie in simpler, more profound connections. Thirdly, Tolstoy's exploration of the nature of conflict and peace provides a nuanced perspective on contemporary global issues. The novel shows that war is not just military conflict, but also internal and societal strife, while peace is not merely the absence of war, but a state of inner harmony and familial well-being. This helps us analyze current geopolitical tensions not just as clashes between nations, but as manifestations of deeper societal, economic, and ideological conflicts within and between groups. It encourages us to seek holistic solutions that address root causes beyond simply military interventions. Consider the ongoing debates about social justice and civil unrest. These are internal wars that society wages to achieve a greater sense of peace and equity, mirroring the complex internal conflicts faced by Tolstoy's aristocratic characters even in peacetime. Finally, Tolstoy's critique of materialism and superficiality in aristocratic society remains highly relevant. The novel exposes the vanity, moral compromises, and empty rituals of the upper classes, contrasting them with the authenticity and resilience found in simpler lives. This serves as a timeless reminder to question consumerism, celebrity culture, and the pursuit of external appearances over inner values. We see this critique reflected in contemporary discussions about the environmental impact of excessive consumption or the mental health crises caused by social media's curated realities. Tolstoy would likely argue that chasing fleeting trends and superficial status, much like the character's initial obsession with salon gossip and military glory, distracts us from what truly matters in life. Now, let's reflect with some thought-provoking questions. Question on historical agency. Tolstoy argues that history is driven by the collective will, not by great leaders. How does this perspective challenge or confirm your own understanding of historical events and the role of individuals in shaping them, particularly in today's world where individual influence is often amplified by social media? Question on personal meaning. Pierre and Andrei find meaning after profound suffering and disillusionment. Do you believe that true spiritual or existential meaning can only be found through hardship? Or are there other paths to profound understanding in life? What might those paths be? Question on war and humanity. The novel portrays war with unflinching realism, showing its horrors but also moments of unexpected humanity. How does this depiction compare to modern media portrayals of conflict, and what insights can Tolstoy offer about the enduring human spirit in times of crisis? Question on societal values. Tolstoy critiques the superficiality of aristocratic society. What aspects of our own contemporary society might Tolstoy similarly critique for their superficiality or moral compromise, and why? Question on love and relationships. The novel explores various forms of love and marriage, from passionate infatuation to enduring devotion. What qualities do you think Tolstoy champions in lasting relationships? And how do these align with or differ from modern ideals of love and partnership? Question on determinism and free will. While Tolstoy's philosophical sections lean towards determinism, his characters make choices that deeply affect their lives. How do you reconcile the idea of an overarching historical force with the belief in individual free will and responsibility in your own life? Question on intuition vs. intellect. Pierre, the intellectual, finds truth through the simple, intuitive wisdom of Platon carative. What balance do you strike between intellectual reasoning and intuitive understanding in navigating your own life and understanding the world? Question on the force of life. Natasha Rostova embodies a vibrant force of life. How do you interpret this concept, and what do you think sustains such a force in individuals even amidst profound societal turmoil and personal suffering? These questions invite us to connect the timeless wisdom of war and peace to our own lives and times, making Tolstoy's epic not just a historical account, but a living, breathing guide for navigating the human experience. Outro War and Peace stands as an unparalleled testament to the human spirit's capacity for both immense suffering and profound growth. It teaches us that history is a tapestry woven by countless threads, not a single hero's decree, and that true meaning often emerges from the crucible of personal struggle and the quiet dignity of everyday life. Tolstoy masterfully blurs the lines between conflict and tranquility, showing us that war and peace are two sides of the same coin, deeply intertwined realities within the human experience. Ultimately, the novel champions an authentic search for existence, one found not in grand pronouncements, but in love, family, spiritual reflection, and the acceptance of life's fundamental truths. If this deep dive into war and peace has ignited your curiosity, there are many other avenues to explore. You might consider delving into Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Another Russian literary giant, Dostoevsky offers a contrasting psychological exploration of guilt, redemption, and moral philosophy, albeit on a much more intimate scale. He delves into the darkest corners of the human psyche, providing a different lens on Russian identity and moral questions. Clausewitz's On War, for a purely analytical perspective on military strategy and the philosophy of war, Clausewitz's seminal work offers a direct counterpoint to Tolstoy's often anti-heroic view, providing the theoretical framework that Tolstoy sometimes subtly critiques. Homer's Iliad, one of the earliest epic poems, the Iliad explores similar themes of war, heroism, fate, and human emotion, offering a classical perspective that provides fascinating comparisons to Tolstoy's 19th century epic. It presents a very different yet equally profound understanding of martial glory and human suffering. Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. While War and Peace is a historical epic, Anna Karenina is a profound psychological novel set in contemporary Russian society, exploring themes of adultery, social hypocrisy, and the search for happiness through the lens of individual relationships. It provides further insight into Tolstoy's philosophical and moral concerns, focusing on the intimate dramas of peacetime. We hope this journey through War and Peace has offered you not just a comprehensive understanding, but also a renewed appreciation for the power of literature to illuminate the enduring complexities of the human condition. May you continue to seek knowledge, question narratives, and find meaning in both the grand sweep of history and the quiet moments of your own extraordinary lives. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, How the Collective Will Shapes History and Reveals True Human Nature. Hook and intro. Imagine a world where the heroes we celebrate, the leaders we credit with changing history, are in fact nothing more than puppets. Imagine that the grand narratives of empires rising and falling are not crafted by brilliant generals or cunning politicians, but by the unseen, often unconscious, actions of millions of ordinary people. This radical vision is precisely what Leo Tolstoy presented in his monumental work, War and Peace, forever altering how we understand history and ourselves. For centuries, history was told as a chronicle of great men. We learned about Alexander the Great conquering empires, Caesar crossing the Rubicon, or Napoleon reshaping Europe with his strategic genius. But what if this entire perspective was fundamentally flawed? What if the true engine of history lies not in the pronouncements of kings or the tactics of generals, but in the myriad, often seemingly insignificant, decisions and impulses of every single individual? Tolstoy, a master storyteller and a profound philosopher, dares to ask this question and provide an answer that is both humbling and empowering. Today, we delve into War and Peace, not just as a sprawling tale of love and conflict, but as a groundbreaking philosophical treatise. Our core theme is Tolstoy's revolutionary historical perspective, his emphatic rejection of the great man theory, and his profound insistence on the collective will as the true driver of historical change. We will also explore how this historical view is intricately woven with his deep reflections on human nature itself, revealing our complex blend of reason and instinct, our search for meaning amidst chaos, and our capacity for both great nobility and profound error. Why does this matter to us living in the 21st century? In an age dominated by celebrity culture, political polarization, and the constant search for charismatic leaders, Tolstoy's insights offer a powerful antidote. They compel us to critically examine the narratives we are fed, whether in history books, news headlines, or social media feeds. They challenge us to look beyond individual heroes and villains to understand the broader forces at play, the collective anxieties and aspirations that truly shape our world. Furthermore, War and Peace offers timeless wisdom on what it means to live an authentic life, to find meaning not in external achievements or societal status, but in genuine human connection in nature and in the quiet resilience of the human spirit. This video will guide you through Tolstoy's magnificent vision, showing you how a seemingly distant 19th century novel holds up a mirror to our modern dilemmas, urging us to reconsider who truly makes history and what truly constitutes a meaningful human existence. Context and background: Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace is not merely a novel, it is a world unto itself. Published in its entirety in 1869, this epic work chronicles the lives of several aristocratic Russian families against the cataclysmic backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars, specifically focusing on the period from 1805 to 1812, which culminated in Napoleon's disastrous invasion of Russia. To understand Tolstoy's radical ideas, we must first immerse ourselves in the canvas upon which he painted them. Tolstoy, born in 1828, was a Russian count, a landowner, and a veteran of the Crimean War. His experiences in battle profoundly shaped his anti-war sentiments and his realistic, often brutal, portrayal of conflict. Beyond his military service, Tolstoy was a ceaseless seeker of truth, evolving into a moral philosopher and a spiritual thinker whose later views championed pacifism, Christian anarchism, and a simple, agrarian life. War and Peace stands as a testament to his intellectual and spiritual development, a work where personal narrative and historical analysis merge seamlessly with philosophical inquiry. The novel introduces us to a vast array of characters, but its heart beats through the intertwined destinies of three main families: the Bezukhovs, the Bolkonskys, and the Rostovs. First, there is Pierre Bezukhov, an awkward, illegitimate son who suddenly inherits immense wealth and a title. He is initially a naive, passionate, and intellectual young man, constantly searching for purpose. Pierre experiments with various philosophies and societal groups, including Freemasonry, hoping to find meaning and a way to improve the world. His early life is marked by impulsiveness and poor judgment, such as his disastrous marriage to the beautiful but superficial Helene Kuragina. Pierre's journey is one of profound internal struggle and spiritual awakening, leading him through intellectual disillusionment, the horrors of war as a civilian observer and prisoner, and ultimately to a more grounded, authentic understanding of life. His encounter with the wise peasant Platon Karateev while a prisoner of the French becomes a pivotal moment, teaching him the value of simple faith, acceptance, and the interconnectedness of all living things. Next, we have the Bolkonskys. Prince Andrei Bolkonskys is a brilliant, ambitious, yet deeply cynical aristocrat. Dissatisfied with the superficiality of high society and yearning for glory, he goes to war with Napoleon, dreaming of heroic deeds. He is married to the delicate Lies, who he finds intellectually shallow. Andrei's journey is characterized by grand disillusionment. His idealized view of war is shattered at the Battle of Austerlitz, where he is severely wounded and has a profound existential revelation while gazing at the vast, indifferent sky. He later finds a fleeting sense of purpose in agricultural reforms on his estate, and later love with Natasha Rostova, only to be crushed by her youthful indiscretion and the renewed call of war. His final moments are marked by a spiritual awakening and a release from earthly ambitions. Andrei's sister, Princess Maria Bolkonskaya, is a devout, plain, and immensely kind woman, devoted to her tyrannical father, Prince Nikolai Bolkonsky, and her nephew. Young Nikolai, Maria's quiet strength and deep faith allow her to endure immense suffering and loss, ultimately finding love and peace with Nikolai Rostov. Finally, the Rostovs embody the warmth, vitality, and emotional exuberance of Russian life. Natasha Rostova is a lively, impulsive, and immensely charming young woman full of life and passion. Her journey is one of emotional growth. From youthful infatuation and romantic mistakes, her near elopement with Anatole Kuregin, to enduring love and the profound experience of loss and compassion. She eventually marries Pierre Bezukhov, finding happiness and fulfillment in family life. Her brother Nikolai Rostov is a spirited, loyal, but often reckless young officer. He serves bravely in the war, experiences the camaraderie and brutality of military life, and struggles with gambling debts that threaten his family's fortunes. Despite his flaws, Nikolai possesses a fundamental goodness and a deep love for his family. He eventually finds peace and purpose through his marriage to Princess Maria Bolkonskaya, embracing a simpler agricultural life. The novel's narrative is intricately woven with major historical events. We witness the grandeur and chaos of battles like Austerlitz in 1805, where Andrei seeks glory but finds disillusionment. The story then moves to the period leading up to Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812, a cataclysmic event that fundamentally alters the lives of all the characters and the fate of the nation. We experience the burning of Moscow not as a strategic event, but as a visceral act of collective defiance by its inhabitants. We follow the grueling, disastrous retreat of Napoleon's Grand Armée through the harsh Russian winter, a retreat that Tolstoy uses to expose the ultimate futility of human ambition against the forces of nature and collective will. Through these events, Tolstoy meticulously examines the nature of war itself, the complexities of human relationships, the search for truth, and the enduring resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity. This intricate tapestry of personal and historical narratives serves as the perfect vehicle for Tolstoy's groundbreaking philosophical inquiries into history and human nature. Core narrative and analysis. Tolstoy's War and Peace is far more than a historical romance. It is a profound philosophical statement, daring to fundamentally redefine the very essence of history and human agency. At its heart lies a radical rejection of what is known as the great man theory of history, a prevailing notion that attributes historical change primarily to the actions, genius, and will of singular, powerful individuals like Napoleon. Tolstoy insists that this view is not only misguided but profoundly misleading. Instead, Tolstoy argues that history is the product of an inexorable flow of countless small actions, the cumulative, often unconscious, efforts of millions of ordinary people. He portrays individuals, even those in positions of immense power, as largely instruments of forces far greater than themselves. Napoleon, the perceived master strategist and conqueror, is consistently depicted not as a divinely ordained genius, but as a deluded individual, a product of historical circumstances, and ultimately a puppet whose self-perception is detached from the true reality of human events. his ambition. His pronouncements and his strategic genius are, in Tolstoy's view, merely superficial manifestations of deeper impersonal historical movements. Consider the pivotal Battle of Borodino, a central event in the novel that beautifully illustrates Tolstoy's historical philosophy. This was one of the bloodiest single-day battles in history, a clash between Napoleon's Grand Armée and the Russian forces. From a conventional historical perspective, such a battle would be analyzed through the lens of generals' tactics, troop movements, and strategic objectives. However, Tolstoy plunges us into the chaos, the mud, the fear, and the individual acts of courage and despair of the common soldiers. He shows us that no general, not even Napoleon or the Russian commander Kutuzov, truly controlled the battle. The outcome was not dictated by a brilliant maneuver, but by the collective spirit, the sheer endurance, and the countless spontaneous decisions of individual soldiers fighting on the front lines. The focus shifts from the panoramic view of the battlefield to the intimate, terrifying experiences of those caught within it, highlighting the overwhelming scale of human suffering and the randomness of death. Tolstoy famously elevates General Kutuzov as the epitome of true leadership, not because of his strategic brilliance, but because of his passive wisdom. Kutuzov understands the limits of human control. He doesn't try to impose his will on events, but rather aligns himself with the natural flow of history and the collective spirit of the Russian people. He grasps that a battle's outcome is less about complex maneuvers and more about the morale and will of the soldiers. This contrasts sharply with Napoleon, who constantly believes himself to be the architect of destiny, dictating events from above. Kutuzov's wisdom lies in his humility, his recognition that he is merely a part of a larger, uncontrollable process. The power of the collective, or what one might term the swarm intelligence of humanity, is another core concept. Tolstoy illustrates how monumental events like the burning of Moscow are not the result of a single top-down command, but a spontaneous, collective act of defiance. When Napoleon's forces approach Moscow, the city is largely deserted not by imperial decree, but because its inhabitants, driven by a shared instinctive will, choose to abandon it and set it ablaze rather than surrender it intact. This act of self-sacrifice, orchestrated by no single leader, becomes a powerful force against the invaders, crippling their ability to sustain themselves. This is a dramatic example of how the aggregated, often uncoordinated, actions of millions can become the true engine of historical change, overwhelming even the most powerful armies and leaders. Beyond history, Tolstoy delves deeply into the complexities of human nature. He portrays individuals not as simple archetypes, but as multifaceted beings driven by a spectrum of motivations, noble ideals, base desires, intellectual curiosity, emotional turmoil, and the primal instincts for survival and love. True understanding of oneself and the world, Tolstoy suggests, comes not from abstract philosophical systems or societal status, but from direct experience, emotional connection, and an acceptance of life's inherent complexities and contradictions. Let us trace the journeys of some of the central characters to understand this better. Pierre Bezukhovs' long and often clumsy quest for meaning serves as a primary vehicle for Tolstoy's exploration of human nature. Initially, Pierre tries to find purpose in intellectual pursuits, societal reforms, and even the esoteric rituals of Freemasonry. Yet these endeavors often leave him disillusioned and unfulfilled. His real transformation begins during his direct encounter with the horrors of war at Borodino, where he witnesses the raw truth of human suffering and courage, far removed from the abstract ideals he once pursued. His ultimate spiritual awakening occurs as a prisoner of war, through his profound connection with Platon Karatev, a simple, uncorrupted peasant. Platon embodies a natural, grounded way of living characterized by simplicity, kindness, and an unshakable faith in the natural flow of life. He teaches Pierre that happiness and meaning are found not in grand designs or intellectual abstractions, but in the small, everyday acts of love, acceptance, and connection to one's fellow humans and the land. Pierre learns that true freedom and peace lie in letting go of ego and embracing the fundamental goodness of existence. Prince Andrei Bolkonskys' journey provides a contrasting, yet equally profound exploration of human nature. Andrei begins with an insatiable ambition for military glory and a disdain for the trivialities of aristocratic life. He believes that true meaning lies in grand achievements and intellectual pursuits. However, his near-death experience at the Battle of Austerlitz shatters these illusions. As he lies wounded, gazing at the lofty infinite sky, he realizes the utter insignificance of his earthly ambitions and the vanity of humans striving in the face of cosmic indifference. This moment marks a profound shift in his perspective, leading him to seek solace in reforming his estate and later, in his love for Natasha. Even though his love for Natasha is fraught with complications, his ultimate death after being wounded again at Borodino is portrayed not as a tragedy but as a final release, a spiritual transcendence where he finds peace through forgiveness and acceptance. Andrei's path demonstrates that profound suffering can strip away superficialities, revealing a deeper understanding of reality and a more authentic engagement with life. Natasha Rostova, with her vibrant and impulsive spirit, showcases another facet of human nature: its capacity for intense emotion, joy, and resilience. Her youthful vivacity and initial romantic missteps give way to a mature understanding forged through personal loss, the anguish of seeing her family suffer, and her compassionate care for the wounded. Her final embrace of family life with Pierre illustrates Tolstoy's belief in the profound importance of human connection and the quiet dignity of domesticity as a source of lasting happiness and meaning. Her character arc highlights that authenticity is not always about grand philosophical insights, but often about embracing life with open-heartedness and finding fulfillment in genuine human relationships. Tolstoy constantly contrasts the superficiality and artificiality of aristocratic salon society, with its gossip, pretensions, and calculated social maneuvers, with the raw honesty of the battlefield or the simple, grounded lives of the peasantry. He implies that true human nature, uncorrupted by societal artifice, is revealed in moments of crisis, suffering, and genuine connection. Through these rich narrative threads, War and Peace crafts a powerful argument. History is not a stage for heroes, but a tumultuous river constantly flowing, shaped by the countless drops of individual lives. And within that river, human nature, in all its complex glory, endlessly searches for truth, meaning, and connection. Deep insight and reflection. Tolstoy's War and Peace is not merely a literary masterpiece confined to the 19th century. Its profound insights into history and human nature resonate powerfully with our contemporary world. In an age saturated with information, often distilled into simplistic narratives of powerful individuals, Tolstoy's critique of the great man theory offers an invaluable lens through which to examine our own societal dynamics. Consider how we consume news and understand global events today. We are constantly presented with charismatic leaders, influential CEOs, or revolutionary figures often credited with single-handedly altering the course of nations or industries. Tolstoy would challenge this. He would urge us to look beyond the individual figurehead to the collective forces at play, to the underlying economic pressures, social sentiments, technological shifts, and the aggregated choices of millions that truly drive change. For example, when we discuss climate change activism, it is easy to focus on figures like Greta Thunberg. However, Tolstoy's perspective encourages us to acknowledge that the real power lies in the growing global consensus, the collective scientific effort, and the countless individual actions and demands that create the momentum for change. The leader becomes a voice, a symbol, but not the sole engine. In our personal lives, Tolstoy's exploration of the search for meaning is particularly poignant. Characters like Pierre and Andrei grapple with existential questions: who am I? Why am I here? How should I live? Questions that continue to plague individuals in our modern, often overwhelming world. In a society that frequently equates success with material wealth, social status, or external validation, Tolstoy reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment often lie in more fundamental, less tangible realms. His characters find solace not in intellectual grandstanding or military glory, but in love, family, connection to nature, and an acceptance of life's inherent suffering. This resonates deeply with contemporary discussions on mental well-being, the pursuit of authenticity, and the struggle against consumerism. For instance, many people today, especially after experiencing personal or collective crises like a pandemic, reevaluate their priorities. Choosing simpler lives, prioritizing family, or seeking work that aligns with deeper values, much like Pierre finds meaning beyond his initial social ambitions. Tolstoy's depiction of suffering as a catalyst for growth also holds enduring relevance. His characters endure immense pain, loss, and disillusionment, yet it is through these crucibles that they often discover deeper truths about themselves and the world. This idea is echoed in modern psychology, which recognizes the potential for post-traumatic growth, where individuals emerge from difficult experiences with a stronger sense of purpose, empathy, and resilience. Whether it is navigating personal loss, overcoming addiction, or enduring societal upheaval, Tolstoy's narrative offers a powerful testament to the human spirit's capacity for transformation and a reminder that true wisdom often comes at a cost. Finally, his nuanced portrayal of leadership challenges us to reevaluate what we value in those who guide us. The passive wisdom of Kutuzov, who understands the limits of his own control and trusts the collective will, stands in stark contrast to the ego-driven interventions of Napoleon. In an era where leaders are expected to have all the answers and exert absolute control, Tolstoy subtly suggests that true leadership might lie in humility, in understanding and responding to the underlying currents of society, rather than attempting to forcefully impose a rigid vision. This can be applied to diverse fields, from political governance to corporate management, where empowering teams and fostering collective intelligence often leads to more sustainable and effective outcomes than a purely top-down, authoritarian approach. Here are some questions for you to reflect upon. Do you believe history is primarily shaped by the actions of powerful individuals, or by the aggregated choices of millions of ordinary people, often acting unconsciously? Consider recent historical events or social movements. In your own life, have you found that true wisdom comes more from abstract intellectual pursuit or direct, sometimes painful, personal experience? How have these experiences shaped your understanding of the world? How do modern narratives of success and leadership, often focusing on individual genius and ambition, compare to Tolstoy's nuanced portrayal of human agency and historical forces? What does authenticity mean to you in the context of your daily life? How do you seek genuine experience amidst societal pressures and the pervasive influence of digital media? Tolstoy suggests that great suffering can lead to profound growth and self-awareness. Can you identify an instance in your life or in the lives of those you know where hardship led to a deeper understanding or a sense of freedom? If leaders are ultimately instruments of larger historical forces, as Tolstoy suggests, what then is the ultimate purpose of individual moral choice and personal responsibility? How important is community and human connection for your sense of meaning and well-being, especially in an increasingly individualized and digital world? Do you think Tolstoy's critique of the great man theory could be applied to modern technological advancements or artistic movements, where credit is often given to a few innovators rather than the collective effort? These questions are not easy, but wrestling with them, much like Tolstoy's characters, it can lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the complex world we inhabit. Outro War and Peace is more than a novel. It is an epoch-making journey into the very heart of human existence and the vast, unpredictable currents of history. Leo Tolstoy fundamentally challenged the way we perceive the past, stripping away the myths of great men to reveal the immense, often invisible, power of the collective will. He showed us that history is not a stage for heroes, but a tumultuous river, constantly flowing, shaped by the countless drops of individual lives. Through his characters' profound quests, he illuminated the complex tapestry of human nature, demonstrating that true meaning is found not in grand ambition or intellectual abstraction, but in love, suffering, genuine connection, and an honest acceptance of life's fundamental truths. Tolstoy's masterpiece teaches us to look beyond the superficial, to question dominant narratives, and to recognize the inherent value in every individual action, however small. It is a powerful reminder that while we may feel like mere specks in the grand scheme of things, our collective choices and our shared humanity are the true architects of our world. If this journey into Tolstoy's world has sparked your curiosity, I highly recommend exploring other profound works that delve into similar themes. You might consider Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, another Russian literary giant who masterfully explores the depths of the human psyche, moral responsibility, and the search for redemption through suffering, though with a different philosophical lens than Tolstoy. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, an epic novel that, like War and Peace, intertwines personal stories with grand historical events and social commentary, exploring themes of justice, love, and redemption against a backdrop of revolutionary France. Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, a modern nonfiction work that offers a broad, sweeping historical narrative, and while differing from Tolstoy's specific historical philosophy, it similarly challenges conventional views of human progress and collective fictions. The philosophical writings of Arthur Schopenhauer. Tolstoy was influenced by Schopenhauer's ideas on the will and suffering. Delving into Schopenhauer could offer a deeper understanding of the philosophical currents that shaped Tolstoy's era and his own thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into War and Peace. May Tolstoy's timeless wisdom inspire you to look at history, humanity, and your own life with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of purpose. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the deeper truths that lie beneath. Why Tolstoy's War and Peace remains humanity's greatest novel. Hook and intro. Have you ever wondered if there's one book, one single narrative that could encapsulate the entirety of human experience? A story so vast in its scope, so profound in its philosophical inquiry, and so intimately detailed in its portrayal of individual lives that it might just hold the key to understanding life itself. For many, that book is Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. It's a novel that doesn't just tell a story. It is a world, a universe, a mirror held up to the very essence of what it means to be human. Today, we embark on a journey into the heart of this literary colossus. We're going to explore why War and Peace is consistently heralded as the greatest novel ever written, what makes its position in world literature so unique, and perhaps most importantly, why its insights remain incredibly relevant to our modern lives, even over a century and a half after its publication. Imagine a canvas so immense it can contain both the thunderous chaos of historic battles and the quiet whispers of a lover's confession. Picture a narrative so rich it weaves together the destinies of dozens of characters, from awkward, searching intellectuals to vibrant, impulsive young women, from ambitious princes to simple, steadfast peasants. This is the world Tolstoy built, a world that critics have called a dictionary of life, where you can look up any passion, any ambition, and find its meaning. This isn't just a historical novel about Napoleon's invasion of Russia. It's a sweeping epic that interrogates the very nature of history, free will, and our unending search for purpose. Why should you, a modern viewer, invest your time in understanding a novel written in 19th century Russia? Because War and Peace grapples with questions that are as urgent today as they were then. How do we find meaning in a world often defined by conflict and uncertainty? What is the role of the individual when vast historical forces seem to be at play? How do love, family, and simple human connections sustain us through profound personal and societal upheavals? These are the accursed questions that Tolstoy tackles head-on, offering not easy answers, but a profound and empathetic exploration that empowers us to reflect on our own existence. In this video, we'll strip away the daunting length and delve into the core of War and Peace. We'll explore its revolutionary form, its unforgettable characters, its groundbreaking philosophy of history, and its timeless insights into the human condition. By the end, you'll understand why this isn't just a book to be admired, but a profound guide to living. A literary monument that stands as a beacon for humanity's endless quest for understanding. So settle in and let's unravel the enduring majesty of War and Peace. Context and background: to truly appreciate the monumental achievement that is War and Peace, we must first set the stage. The author, his era, and the dramatic historical events that form the novel's backdrop. Leo Tolstoy, born in 1828 to an aristocratic Russian family, was a titan of world literature and a profound moral philosopher. He wrote War and Peace between 1863 and 1869, a period of immense social and intellectual ferment in Russia. Having served as an artillery officer in the Crimean War, Tolstoy had a visceral, first-hand understanding of the brutal realities of armed conflict, which he brought with unflinching honesty to his depiction of battles. This personal experience profoundly shaped his anti-war sentiments and his philosophical inquiries into the nature of history and heroism. The novel is primarily set between 1805 and 1812, covering the Napoleonic Wars, a defining period that reshaped Europe. At its heart is Napoleon Bonaparte's disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812, a cataclysmic event known to Russians as the Patriotic War. This was a time of intense nationalism, political upheaval, and vast military campaigns that swept across the continent, forever altering the social and political landscape. Tolstoy used this grand historical canvas to explore the most intimate human experiences, illustrating how personal destinies are inextricably linked to the grand sweep of history. War and Peace defies easy categorization. Tolstoy himself famously stated it was not a novel, nor a poem, nor a historical chronicle. Instead, he described it as a work expressed in the form he desired, a testament to its revolutionary narrative structure. It is an epic novel that blends fictional narrative with historical analysis and philosophical discourse, often described as a novel epic or a philosophical novel. Its sheer scale and ambition prompted comparisons to ancient epics like Homer's Iliad, positioning it as a Russian Iliad for its monumental significance in the global literary canon. Let's now introduce the main characters whose intertwined lives form the emotional and philosophical core of this vast story. First, there's Pierre Bezukhov, the awkward, illegitimate son of a wealthy count. Initially adrift and searching for purpose, Pierre inherits a vast fortune, throwing him into the sophisticated, often superficial world of Petersburg and Moscow aristocracy. He struggles with his desires, dabbling in philosophical societies like Freemasonry, engaging in passionate but ultimately unfulfilling relationships, and constantly seeking meaning in a chaotic world. His journey is one of profound spiritual and intellectual searching, marked by deep introspection and a yearning for truth. Then we have Prince Andrei Bolkonskys, a proud, intelligent, and ambitious aristocrat, disillusioned with the emptiness of high society. He longs for glory on the battlefield, believing it will provide purpose and escape from his unhappy marriage. Andrei embodies a struggle between cynical intellect and a yearning for transcendence. His experiences in war, his near-death moments, and his personal losses lead him through periods of profound despair, ultimately forcing him to reevaluate his values and search for a more authentic, peaceful existence. And finally, Natasha Rostova, the vibrant, impulsive, and immensely charming daughter of Count Rostov. Natasha is the embodiment of life's exuberance, characterized by her passion for music, dancing, and love. Her journey is one of emotional growth, moving from youthful idealism and romantic missteps to the profound joys and responsibilities of love, marriage, and motherhood. She represents the force of life and the enduring importance of human connection and empathy. Her transformation highlights the novel's exploration of personal development and the search for meaningful life. The novel also introduces us to their families. The older Count and Countess Rostov, symbolizing traditional Russian warmth and hospitality, often struggling with financial difficulties but rich in emotional life. Their children, including the brave and upright Nikolai Rostova, who joins the Hussars, and the quiet, devoted Sonya, Natasha's cousin, complete this lively family. The Bolkonskys family consists of the formidable, often tyrannical old Prince Bolkonsky, a retired general obsessed with order and intellect, and his devout, gentle daughter, Princess Maria Bolkonskaya. Maria, overshadowed by her demanding father, finds solace in her faith and her love for others, eventually finding happiness through unexpected circumstances. These characters navigate a complex social landscape of balls, hunts, family gatherings, and political intrigues, all against the looming threat of Napoleon's advancing armies. Tolstoy meticulously details the customs, conversations, and class structures of early 19th century Russia, immersing the reader in a vibrant, yet deeply stratified society. He contrasts the artificiality and pretensions of court life with the more genuine, heartfelt experiences of family and the raw reality of the battlefield. This rich tapestry of individual lives and societal forces allows Tolstoy to explore his profound philosophical ideas about history, human agency, and the search for authentic living. The background of the Napoleonic Wars provides the relentless pressure cooker that forces these characters to confront their deepest fears, desires, and beliefs. The 1805 campaigns, culminating in the Battle of Austerlitz, serve as an initial baptism of fire for Andrei. Later, the terrifying onslaught of 1812, including the devastating Battle of Borodino and the burning of Moscow, becomes the ultimate test of their humanity and resilience. Tolstoy uses these historical moments not just as events, but as crucibles in which his characters are forged, broken, and ultimately transformed. Core narrative and analysis. War and Peace is a narrative of staggering ambition, meticulously unfolding over 1,200 pages, blending historical events, philosophical essays, and the most intimate human dramas. At its heart lies the omnipresent tension between war and peace, not just as literal states, but as fundamental aspects of human existence: the external chaos versus internal harmony, societal conflict versus familial love, individual ambition versus collective destiny. Tolstoy famously challenges the great man theory of history, which posits that history is shaped by the singular will and genius of towering figures like Napoleon. Instead, he argues that historical events are the result of countless individual actions, the swarm life of humanity, often driven by instinct, chance, and an inscrutable force he calls providence. Leaders, in his view, are merely instruments, focal points for these broader, unconscious movements. Napoleon, for all his perceived brilliance, is portrayed by Tolstoy as a vain, self-deluded figure, disconnected from the true forces at play. This argument is vividly illustrated in the novel's pivotal battle scenes. Consider the Battle of Borodino in 1812, one of the most vividly depicted battles in literature. Tolstoy plunges the reader into the mud, smoke, and sheer terror of the engagement. We don't see the battle from a detached general's map, but through the eyes of ordinary soldiers, officers like Prince Andrei, and even non-combatants like Pierre. Pierre, naive and philosophically inclined, finds himself on the front lines, witnessing the senseless brutality and confusion. He sees not glorious charges, but men suffering, dying, and struggling in a horrifying, chaotic ballet of death. Through these perspectives, Tolstoy shows that a battle's outcome is not determined by a single tactical genius, but by the morale, endurance, and countless small, uncoordinated actions of thousands of individuals. It's the cumulative, often accidental impact of these infinitesimal units that dictates the course of history. This concept is revolutionary, democratizing the historical narrative and shifting focus from kings and generals to the everyday person. This leads us to the novel's central theme, the search for meaning and authenticity in life. Two characters, Pierre Bezukhov and Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, embody this quest. Pierre, initially directionless, seeks answers in abstract philosophies, joining the Freemasons, believing they hold the secret to universal truth. He tries to apply their teachings to improve his peasants' lives, but his efforts are often clumsy and ineffectual, highlighting the gap between abstract ideals and practical reality. His journey is one of trial and error, a constant shedding of illusions. Prince Andrei, on the other hand, initially seeks meaning in military glory and ambition, hoping to become another Napoleon. His disillusionment comes dramatically at the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. Wounded and lying on the battlefield, he looks up at the high, infinite sky. In that moment, the petty ambitions of Napoleon, the glory he once craved, seem utterly insignificant. The vastness of the universe, the quiet beauty of the clouds, dwarfs all human striving. This epiphany marks a turning point for Andrei, shifting his quest from external glory to internal peace. Andrei later experiences another profound symbolic moment with the ancient oak tree. He first sees it as a gnarled, barren tree in spring, mirroring his own despair and cynicism after personal tragedies. He thinks, yes, that oak is right, 1,000 times right. The young spring needs no leaves, and the old man needs neither wife nor friends. But when he passes the same tree later in the season, it has burst forth with fresh, green young leaves, full of vibrant life. This renewal of the tree directly reflects Andrei's own spiritual rebirth and rekindled hope, symbolizing the cyclical nature of life and the possibility of finding joy again after profound loss. While Pierre and Andrei pursue intellectual and spiritual paths, Natasha Rostova represents a different kind of wisdom, the wisdom of life itself, lived with vibrant passion and empathy. Her emotional journey from youthful naivety and heartbreaks, like her engagement to Andrei and her impulsive infatuation with Anatole Kuregin, to mature love and domesticity, anchors the novel in the profound realities of human connection. Natasha's capacity for love, her spontaneity, and her ability to find joy in simple things are presented as a powerful force of life, an ideal mode of being that often eludes the more intellectual characters. The concept of peace in War and Peace extends far beyond the mere absence of war. It encompasses inner harmony, familial warmth, and a deep connection to the natural rhythms of existence. Tolstoy suggests that true peace is not a state to be achieved once and for all, but an ongoing process, a way of living that embraces the complexities of human relationships and finds beauty in the mundane. The novel's epilogue, which focuses on the domestic lives of the surviving characters, particularly Pierre and Natasha, emphasizes this continuity and the enduring importance of family and everyday life. Tolstoy's narrative structure itself reflects this holistic vision. He seamlessly weaves together grand historical panoramas with deeply intimate character studies. One moment we are on a chaotic battlefield, the next we are at a lavish ball, then inside the mind of a character grappling with profound existential questions. This approach allows Tolstoy to present a microcosm of Russian society and a broad sweep of historical events, juxtaposing the grand with the intimate, demonstrating how individual fate is shaped by and in turn influences the currents of history. The novel also presents a strong contrast between the artificiality of aristocratic city life and the more authentic, grounded existence of the countryside and the peasantry. Tolstoy often idealizes the natural wisdom of the common people, seeing them as closer to fundamental truths and less corrupted by societal pretense. This is evident in Pierre's later appreciation for the simplicity and resilience of the Russian peasant, especially during his time as a prisoner of war. Moreover, Tolstoy's philosophical parallels extend to broader discussions of determinism versus free will. He posits that while individuals might feel they have free will, their actions are often part of a larger, interconnected web of causality that is difficult to grasp. He uses analogies like a flock of sheep or a swarm of bees to illustrate how countless individual movements contribute to a collective direction that no single entity truly controls. This deterministic undertone, however, does not diminish the profound moral and spiritual choices his characters make, creating a powerful tension throughout the narrative. War and Peace stands in dialogue with other great works of world literature that attempt to capture the totality of human experience. While Homer's Iliad focuses on heroic combat and martial glory, Tolstoy's work questions these very notions, presenting war as a site of suffering and moral ambiguity and highlighting the ordinary individual's role. It is the human cost, the personal impact, and the philosophical search that truly elevate War and Peace, making it in many ways an anti-Iliad, a critique of the romanticized epic. In its sprawling narrative, Tolstoy explores not just the physical landscapes of Russia, but the vast inner landscapes of his characters. He delves into their dreams, their anxieties, their moments of joy and despair with a psychological realism that was groundbreaking for its time. This depth allows readers to connect with the characters on a profoundly human level, recognizing their struggles and triumphs as reflections of their own. Ultimately, the core narrative of War and Peace is an expansive, detailed chronicle of humanity itself, its flaws, its resilience, its capacity for both destruction and profound love. It teaches us that amidst the grand, often terrifying movements of history, the true essence of life is found in the everyday, the personal, and the continuous search for a deeper connection to ourselves and to each other. Deep insight and reflection, the enduring power of War and Peace lies in its ability to speak across centuries, offering profound insights that resonate deeply with our contemporary world. Its exploration of fundamental human questions makes it a dictionary of life, applicable to personal crises, societal dynamics, and our ongoing search for meaning. First, consider understanding conflict and its human cost. In an era still grappling with global conflicts, from regional wars to geopolitical tensions, Tolstoy's unflinching portrayal of war's brutality, chaos, and psychological toll remains incredibly prescient. It strips away any romanticized notions of battle, forcing us to confront the shared suffering and the profound moral compromises it demands. For instance, the novel's depiction of ordinary soldiers' experiences can help us better understand the psychological impact of modern warfare on veterans and civilians, moving beyond abstract political analyses to the tangible human reality. Second, the novel offers timeless guidance for navigating personal growth and self-discovery. Characters like Pierre and Andrei embark on arduous spiritual and philosophical journeys to find purpose amidst chaos and personal tragedy. Their struggles with identity, love, loss, and the search for authentic living are profoundly relatable. Think of how many modern individuals wrestle with career dissatisfaction, relationship challenges, or existential dread. Pierre's eventual peace, found not in grand philosophies but in simpler truths and human connection, provides a compelling model for finding contentment in our often overwhelmed lives. This journey of continuous questioning and evolving values is a blueprint for personal resilience in any age. Third, Tolstoy's critique of leadership and power holds significant relevance. He famously dismisses the great man theory of history, suggesting that leaders are often deluded about their own influence, merely serving as instruments for larger, collective forces. This perspective encourages us to critically reevaluate contemporary political narratives and media portrayals of leaders. Are charismatic figures truly shaping our destiny, or are they too products of deeper societal currents and collective will? This prompts skepticism toward authoritarian claims and fosters an appreciation for the collective agency of ordinary citizens in shaping democratic processes and social movements. Fourth, the novel illuminates the importance of human connection and family in an increasingly fragmented world. Amidst war and societal upheaval, the bonds of love, friendship, and family provide solace, strength, and meaning. Natasha Rostova's journey through love and motherhood exemplifies the profound fulfillment found in these intimate relationships. In an age of digital connection that can often feel superficial, War and Peace reminds us of the irreplaceable value of genuine human empathy, physical presence, and the enduring strength of familial ties, urging us to invest in these relationships. Finally, Tolstoy's work fosters a deeper appreciation for the breadth of human experience. Its inclusiveness, as critics note, encourages readers to embrace the complexity and richness of life in all its facets, from the mundane to the extraordinary, from moments of profound joy to deep suffering. This broad worldview cultivates empathy, helping us understand diverse perspectives and find common ground in our shared humanity, particularly vital in an era of polarized views and cultural misunderstandings. War and Peace doesn't just offer answers, it invites us to ponder. Here are some questions to consider: the nature of control. In our highly interconnected and rapidly changing world, how much free will do we truly possess? And to what extent are our lives shaped by forces beyond our control, like global economics, technology, or political movements? Redefining leadership. If Tolstoy is right about the great man theory, what qualities should we truly value in our leaders, and how can we empower collective action more effectively? Does our media narrative still overly focus on individual heroes or villains? Finding meaning in the everyday. In a society that often emphasizes grand achievements and external validation, how can we cultivate a sense of meaning and peace in our daily routines, our personal relationships, and our connection to nature, much like Pierre eventually found? The ethics of conflict. Given Tolstoy's raw depiction of war, how should societies ethically engage in conflict, if at all? What are our responsibilities to mitigate suffering? And how do we foster genuine reconciliation? Authenticity in relationships. In an age of curated online personas, how do we strive for the kind of genuine, heartfelt connection and authenticity in our relationships that Natasha embodies rather than superficial interactions? The cycles of history. Tolstoy suggests history is cyclical. What historical patterns do you observe repeating in our current events? And what lessons from the past do you think we are failing to learn? Individual vs. collective. When do our individual desires and pursuits serve the greater good, and when do they detract from it? How do we balance personal ambition with our responsibility to the community? The peace within. Beyond the absence of war, what does peace truly mean to you on a personal level? How do you cultivate that inner tranquility amidst life's inevitable challenges? These questions, deeply embedded within the narrative of War and Peace, are not just academic exercises. They are invitations to a richer, more reflective life. They encourage us to look beyond the surface, to question established narratives, and to find our own profound understanding of the world and our place within it. Outro. As we conclude our journey through the monumental world of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, we're left with a profound appreciation for its unparalleled literary genius. This novel is far more than a historical account. It is a timeless philosophical epic that challenges us to rethink history, to embrace the complexities of the human spirit, and to continuously seek meaning in both the grand and the everyday. It stands as an enduring testament to the power of literature to capture the entirety of human experience, reminding us that even amidst the most cataclysmic events, the human heart continues its essential quest for love, truth, and peace. War and Peace isn't just the greatest novel ever written because of its length or its historical scope. It's because it offers a comprehensive dictionary of life, a guide to navigating the accursed questions of existence with profound empathy and unflinching realism. It shows us that true heroism often lies not in conquering empires, but in confronting our inner selves, loving authentically, and finding connection in a world that constantly tests our humanity. If this exploration has piqued your interest, there's a vast universe of related ideas to explore. Consider delving into Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, a profound psychological novel that contrasts with Tolstoy's scope, focusing intensely on individual morality and redemption within a confined urban setting. It explores the depths of the human psyche with a different, more turbulent philosophical lens. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, another epic historical novel that, like War and Peace, weaves together personal destinies with grand historical events, focusing on themes of justice, redemption, and the human spirit's resilience against societal oppression. It offers a different yet equally powerful vision of humanity's struggles. Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey, the ancient epics that set the standard for war narratives and arduous journeys. Exploring them alongside War and Peace can offer fascinating insights into how the portrayal of heroism, conflict, and destiny has evolved across millennia. Tolstoy's own philosophical work, A Confession, for those intrigued by Tolstoy's spiritual journey and his search for meaning. This nonfiction work directly details his existential crisis and the philosophical and religious conclusions he drew, which profoundly influenced his later fiction and his moral philosophy. War and Peace reminds us that life is a continuous flow, a blend of moments of intense war and serene peace, both externally and within ourselves. It is a masterpiece that will continue to challenge, inspire, and illuminate the human condition for generations to come. Thank you for joining us on this